her main concern was make sure that you have self-control so you guys can go tomorrow. Okay?
I really appreciate it.
So, I am going to walk her over here to the car. Okay? And if you'll just go stand over here in front of his pickup real quick, we'll get her out of here and I'll be right over here. Alrighty?
You're right here.
Absolutely. Alrighty, Gabrielle, you want to step out for me? As you can see, I have keys in my hand, which is good news, okay? So, something that I do, that I emphasize to him, and I don't know if I emphasize to you or not, don't text each other tonight. He wants to pass on the same message you passed to him. He's really looking forward to talking to you again, but I told him and you, unless there's earth-shattering emergency news, don't text tonight, okay? Even with the good nights, I love you. He's saying good night now. He's saying he loves you now, and you guys can talk tomorrow morning, okay? He's going to go to the hotel. I'm going to give you the keys to the van. Alrighty? So, here's that. I'm giving him a ride over to the hotel, okay? So, everything's going to be okay.
Will it be a far drive for me to get him in the morning? I'm just curious.
I'm not going to tell you where he's going to be at tonight.
I know.
Like I said, I want you guys to be separated. But I can tell you this.
I just don't usually drive the van, so I just want to make sure it's not like far away.
No. It's
okay.
It's basically from here to Moonflower.
Okay.
Okay? It's not far at all. So, let's get you in the van. Let's get you on your way. Alrighty? You want that Gatorade, by the way?
Okay.
You got enough water? Also, something I want you to know. Here, stand over here real fast for me. If you go over to City Market, they have a list of places where you can get yourself a shower for like $4 or $5, something like that. They're pretty cheap. A place where you can shower, decompress, de-stress a little bit. Alrighty?
Yeah, I just showered yesterday at one of those.
Well, you didn't have today happen yesterday, so it does my wife wonders. When she gets stressed out, it's like, get in the shower. Come on, just get in the shower.
Really relaxing.
Go take a shower, relax, take some time for yourself, and like I said, don't text each other tonight. Text each other tomorrow morning after your eyes open up and you're fully awake, had your coffee or your morning routine, okay? All right, Gabrielle. You have a good night, okay?
Thank you.
All right,
I got the ladder, I get the bottom, and then it's just the rattle of the rattlesnake. It's just a contact.
You ready for a ride?
Gabby, Petito and Brian Laundrie, Analysis, Part 9. We now stop the original body cam footage at 1 hour, 5 minutes and 29 seconds. Gabby Petito is returned to the van, and after final instructions from police officer, she leads. Of course, there's no engagement by Brian Laundrie because he's been instructed not to do so, but there isn't even a look in her direction, a wistful glance. Why? Because his narcissism dictates that's unnecessary, and he has no emotional empathy for her. The footage returns to Brian Laundrie, who is again perfectly content chatting away and relaxed as he's receiving fuel, and there's no threat to control. The incident has been dealt with. Any risk that was posed by the police to his sense of control has completely gone. His fiancée has been the one who's been made to move on. He has been treated as the victim. His narcissism has done its job. It created the facade. It hoodwinked the park rangers. It hoodwinked the police. They, of course, looked at the evidence that they saw before them and concluded, incorrectly, that because he had sustained injuries, that she was the aggressor. They didn't deal with it in a heavy-handed manner because there was no citation issued as against Gabby Petito, and they decided that the most appropriate thing was to separate the pair of them. But what they didn't do was get to the bottom of what had actually caused Gabby Petito to behave in the manner that she did. A young lady who barely weighs 110 pounds, as one of the officers commented, that the presentation of her was one where she was notably upset. She was at times unable to collect her thoughts. She made reference to fighting. She made reference to a difficult situation in the relationship. But instead, as a consequence of the calm exterior presented by Brian Laundrie, driven by the facade management of his narcissism, it was concluded that basically they'd spent too long together There'd been too many niggles between them, accepting his explanation of there being just lots of little things in the relationship, and that she had basically needed to cool off, and she'd lashed out against him. They decided that it was just really a bit of a spat, and did not get to the underlying issues. They failed to realise that this was an individual that was being repeatedly ground down by sustained devaluing behaviour. And of course, why would they necessarily do so? They're not trained to identify narcissism. They wouldn't pick up on the facade management, the delayed response, the body language, the contrast between the two individuals. Nevertheless, there was a failure to get behind the reason why Gabby Petito behaved in the manner that she did.
My door's open, just climb in the back seat for me. Yeah, you can put your backpack back there too. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sorry about that approach. I don't know what the hell I was doing.
It's alright, it was an interesting pull-in, so.
Thanks again.
Daniel, by the way, if I didn't
No.
formally introduce myself, I'm Daniel, I'm 229, so if you hear that, you know who you're talking to.
223, Ryan.
See, I hear you guys all the time, like, this is too much. So,
What's your first name?
it was nice meeting you guys. We'll see ya. What's that? You like it?
I was wondering if you get to play your own personal music in the
Heck yeah, dude. I got my own phone hooked up to this thing.
We halt the original footage at 1 hour, 6 minutes and 27 seconds. The first police officer leaves the park ranger and returns to his vehicle. Brian Laundrie is in the back. He doesn't ask after Gabby Petito. Again, because she's not on the radar. She's driven off and she's not in his thoughts, and therefore the narcissism doesn't need to assert control over her. And because he has no emotional empathy for her, there's no inquiry as to her well-being. Instead, his immediate question is to ask the police officer about the radio and if he can play personal music on it. This shows the glib nature of the superficial behaviour of this particular narcissist. There's a complete absence of emotional empathy. It shows that because Gabby Petito is off the radar, she doesn't have to be talked about, mentioned or referred to. The police officer is on the radar, and therefore it's necessary for Brian Laundrie, through his narcissism, to assert control directly over this police officer, and he does so by asking him a question, a rather glib and superficial one, about the music that he can play on the radio.
Yeah. Hey man, it's not too hard to go a few hours without having anything interesting happen, or anything to get the old blood pumping real good, you know what I mean? So.
I stuck my hands up because I didn't want to scare you when you pulled over.
Oh, no, you're... That wasn't a traditional stop, to say the least, so don't feel bad. SO2T9. Didn't already know. She did want to pass on her good nights and loves yous and stuff like that, okay? And she understands that I didn't tell her where you're staying, because like I said, I'm trying to keep you guys away from each other for tonight.
Where did you say I was going?
Say that again?
Where did you say I was going?
I just told her that you were going to a hotel. Okay? So, like I said, it's my request, not legally obligated to hold to it, but I want you guys to take some time away from each other, because it will make world of difference. Oh, you're not in any trouble? You got handcuffs on? I didn't tell you that I'm taking you to the jail. No, I told you I'm taking you to the hotel. So, like I said, my main concern, I told her to go take a shower like I told you to, because she seems a lot like my wife. And things that really works for my wife is when she gets stressed out to go take a long hot shower. So I gave her a place to go where she can get a hotel room, or not a hotel room, but get a shower tonight for like $4 or $5, really cheap. So, no problem.
They do work on her too.
Well, I've got quite a few. Like I said, my wife has really, really bad anxiety, and she takes medication for it daily. And sometimes it's just not enough. Sometimes it builds up and it happens. I mean,
I think definitely my doctor told me that I prescribed me medication, but I don't. I felt like if I took the medication, I'd like put myself off balance and then I'd be more anxious. That's why it's part of my anxiety.
well, I will say this. When my wife got put on the medication, within a week, I saw a complete turnaround in her attitude, her demeanor. I mean, she wasn't nearly as aggressive or angry or anything like that. It was a considerable difference in her day-to-day life. It made her quality of life better even. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you're saying.
And it's made my quality of life a lot better too, because I don't have her be
Halting the original footage at 1 hour, 9 minutes and 28 seconds. We've heard the conversation between the police officer and Brian Laundrie, although some of Laundrie's comments are difficult to hear as he sat in the back of the police vehicle and the body cam doesn't necessarily pick up clearly everything that he says. The police officer has recounted his own experiences with his wife's anxiety, and he's formed the view that Gabby Petito suffers with anxiety. Of course, he's missed what the root cause of that anxiety is. Notice that when Brian Laundrie talks about medication, he talks about himself and his own medication rather than any potential help for Gabby Petito. This is because she remains off the radar, and it's also the fact that because he has no emotional empathy for her, he simply doesn't care about her circumstances at all, and this is demonstrated once again by him talking about himself with no reference to her.
Is stressed. I know that 5.5 years of marriage, I know it's not very long, but at the same time, you learn a lot in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
How long you guys been together?
I would say, well, we've known each other since the start of high school. But in our relationship, it's been 3 and close to 4 years.
Wow.
A little while. So definitely the 5 months of traveling together, that's been like a dream, but we're also like right on top of each other.
I used to drive a truck.
What's that?
I used to be a commercial motor vehicle driver, you know, the big trucks.
Oh, yeah?
Halting the original footage at 1 hour, 10 minutes and 3 seconds. Brian Laundrie has explained that they've known each other, he and Gabby Petito, from high school, but that they've been in a relationship for approximately 3 years. On the basis that that is accurate, this reinforces the fact that Gabby Petito was in a period of sustained devaluation. Laundrie is the narcissist. She is the victim. She will have been exposed to the golden period, having been seduced, given what is traditionally known as the love bombing, which is a benign method of controlling the victim, drawing her in, establishing her as the primary source, the primary provider of fuel, character traits and residual benefits, and the easiest person to control, so that the narcissist can feast upon those 3 things and ensure that control is maintained over her. However, the intimate partner primary source of a narcissist is always devalued. The form of that devaluation can vary immensely dependent upon the subschool of narcissist that the victim has had the misfortune to be involved with. Devaluation can include physical violence, sexual violence, silent treatments, word salads, the appropriation of your money, being excluded from events, being isolated from friends and family, being invalidated, belittled. It can involve being triangulated with other people. It will involve potentially instances of circular conversations, bringing up the past, expecting perfection, making a list of demands, ordering that person around, provoking them, projecting on them. It can involve such matters as asserting control through this devaluation in a manner which would include instances of behaviours such as smearing that person, future faking them, providing false compassion. It might involve gaslighting them, revising history, alienating them, depriving them of sleep, providing accusations out of nowhere, finding fault, hijacking conversations, issuing threats, engaging in sexual withdrawal, cross-examination, false accusation, and hundreds of different types of manipulations beyond that. They vary in extent and duration. However, the intimate partner primary source is always devalued. This is because either your fuel becomes stale to us, we essentially become bored with you, and that is perceived as a threat to our control, or you inadvertently ration your fuel being your emotional responses given to us. So, for instance, you don't provide us with as much fuel or as often as enough, so it remains fresh, but the failure to provide it in such plentiful amounts and frequently also amounts to a threat to our control. And therefore, we punish you and create a contrast by treating you badly through the sustained devaluation to draw negative fuel from you, by hurting you. Your tears, your anger, your frustration, your irritation, your upset all provides us with negative fuel, and that makes us feel more powerful, and it also signals that you remain under control because we are able to provoke that response from you. Ordinarily, the golden period between a narcissist and the intimate partner primary source lasts, on average, between 6 months to 18 months. Sometimes it can be shorter, sometimes it can be longer, but in general terms, it's 6 to 18 months. Here, after being in a relationship of an intimate nature for 3 years, Gabby Petito and Laundrie have long gone past the average outer limit of 18 months. And, although sometimes it can be extended, it's clear, as a consequence of this time, and of course the evidence that we've witnessed in this video and the evidence that we know about from other behaviours, that she will have been in the sustained devaluation, which means he will have treated her to some of the behaviours that I mentioned earlier on in that long list. Then he would instate the golden period, giving her respite. Everything is good again. Then she would be devalued. Each and every time her fuel became stale again, each and every time she threatened control inadvertently, she would be punished by the devaluing behaviour. Laundrie doesn't see it as devaluing behaviour. He doesn't think, I have to punish you. Instead, his narcissism makes him believe that she's the problem and that he's the victim, and he's reacting to the fact that she's awkward, that she's OCD, that she's a pain in the backside because she is trying to spend all of her time setting up this blog and website, and therefore isn't paying enough attention to him, and that she should be. That she's perhaps pernickety about the food that she wants to eat, that she wants to go to a particular place which he doesn't want to go to. There are almost limitless reasons how the narcissist can be motivated to view your behaviour as a threat to control. And that's what's been happening to her repeatedly. Unfortunately, nobody in this instance picked up on it. There will undoubtedly be more evidence that will come forward in the days ahead that confirms the abuse that she was being subjected to, which of course has culminated in her death. There is, of course, evidence from other people talking about behaviours elsewhere, and I shall be touching on that in separate videos. But ultimately, this information that Laundrie provides about the length of their relationship confirms and underpins the fact that Gabby Petito was in the sustained devaluation.
And I took my wife with me, and we would easily spend a couple months on end without going home or anything like that, being cooped up in a little 8x8 cage is what I called it, because you didn't have any time to yourself, so to speak. You didn't have time to, you're going through Arizona, you can't just turn off the road and go see the Grand Canyon or anything like that. So
whatever you do too, it's like you kind of racing something, like I'm trying to paint or something, I'm making myself a snack. It's like,
well, that was one of the major advantages of having her with me, was I could say, hey, I'm hungry, can you get me something to eat? She was able, because I was driving and she wasn't, she was able to go back, get into the cooler, make us lunch or whatever, So there was that as an advantage.
If you ever think that it'd be better to do this before I always go, I think you're wrong. I think it's not better to because it makes life easier.
Yeah.
So good. Have you been in this area a long time?
I've lived here, I'm just shy of 2 years living out here, but my grandfather's lived out here for like 40. So I've been through here a couple of times. But, growing up in California, have you ever been there?
Yeah. 2 years ago, we did a cross-country trip, and we went to Omaha, and
I love I love driving the one. I absolutely love it. But
we're really looking forward to getting back there. And it's beautiful here, but the desert is definitely different than before. It's come from like New York and the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
It's all trees and waterfalls and rivers, and you come here and it's going.
Well, if you hit
where's the water?
If you take the 80 across to get into California, takes you up over Donner Pass and into Sacramento. It's not any different at all. But you said you're going to be going up to Oregon to see her grandmother or her grandmother's friend. So you'll probably be coming down the 5. You won't be able to tell the difference between California and Oregon up there.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that there's going to be a sign that says "Welcome to California." But at the same time, since you're going to be coming from the east side of Oregon, you're going to be driving through Oregon and going, "There's no difference between Utah." It's actually desert in the southeast corner of Oregon. It's a lot of high desert atmosphere, like what this is. It's not the Red Rock or anything like that, but it's just there's nothing out there for 120 miles. It seems like.
What was your favorite part of growing up? I mean, parks. I just I'm such a big hiker.
Parks?
Like hiker growing up?
Look, if you don't hit Sequoia National Park while you're in California, you are doing yourself a disservice. If you don't go and see Yosemite while you're in California, you're doing yourself a
Yosemite, I regret not being there alone. We stayed there for 3 nights, and it was
it's like coming to Utah. You come here with the intention of 1 or 2 days, and then it turns into a week, and you're like, well, what happened to the time? Yeah, trust me, I get it.
That's why building the van was so great, because the Nissan Sentra, if you tried to camp out somewhere, you can camp in like the sleepover Walmart type situations.
Yeah.
And now it's all BLM land, and it's
wherever you want.
Watching shooting stars as we go to bed. So I was excited for that. Look at that.
But yeah, sorry, my radio was going off. But no, Sequoia National Park, there is nothing like it. Got to see the General Sherman tree. You got to go and see Morro Rock and climb to the top. You like hiking? It's about a 1.5 mile hike. Well worth it.
Awesome.
Got to do it. It's really, really cheap for their tent sites up there. Do you have a National Park Service pass?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
That thing's the dream. It's $80 once, and it's like you go to 3 parks and it already pays for it. It's like 8 to 15.
Exactly. Well, the other thing of it is with that drive, if you go through Yosemite, you'll drop down into Fresno, and then you'll turn off to go to Kings Canyon National Park. If you drive through Kings Canyon National Park, the road literally takes you through to Sequoia National Park. And the Kings Canyon is actually bigger than the Grand Canyon.
God damn.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. And it is a sight to behold. I'll tell you what.
And then you're straight into Sequoia. So that sounds like
And then, it takes you straight into Sequoias. And then when you get into, I think they call it Sierra Highway still up there. But you'll take that down, and you'll pop up into a town called Three Rivers. It's where I'm from.
3 Rivers?
Yep.
So it wasn't terribly far from Sequoia, right?
My house, I think the furthest I lived away from it was like 12 miles from the entrance.
Oh, man. There you go.
I just hope you don't get motion sickness, because it's I think I counted it out to like 32 hairpin turns, and it's about 25 miles an hour the whole way up and down. It's very, very slow. It takes about an hour to travel that 30 miles, 35 miles, whatever it is. But it's worth it.
Yeah, I grew up in Queens, Forest Hills, and then I moved out to Long Island. Kind of surrounded a handful of this, but being in New York, you kind of not landlocked, that to get to like the mountains and hiking. That's
Yeah. Alrighty, we're here.
And now you see that I didn't have to file anything?
We got
We halt the original body cam footage at 1 hour, 16 minutes and 46 seconds. There's been more chit-chat between Laundrie and the police officer. He asks him how long he has been in the particular location. They talk about California, the Appalachian Way, talk about places to visit in California. There's not one mention about Gabby Petito, save that question that was answered about the length of the relationship. This is because, once again, she's off the radar, she's under control, and the only person that Brian Laundrie needs to control is a police officer, and he does so by engaging in polite chit-chat about the trip and where the officer is from. He draws fuel from this officer, and the responses of the officer demonstrate that he remains under control. There is no threat to Brian Laundrie's need for control during this journey.
We're going to come in here and we're going to come talk to Tyson real quick. Tyson?
Yep.
Officer Robbins Phil called for me.
He did, yes.
This is Brian Laundrie.
Alright.
So he's going to get you all set up with your hotel room, and he's going to take care of it from here.
Alright. Well,
Alrighty?
thank you so
And
much.
like I said, just remember my requests. I think it'll make a big difference in your guys' next couple weeks at the very least.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
Alright, so it's already...
The body cam footage ends at 1 hour, 17 minutes and 38 seconds, with Brian Laundrie exiting the vehicle, all smiles, being shown into the hotelier, thanks the police officer and shakes hands. He leaves, and now the police officer has gone off the radar. The next person that Brian Laundrie needs to assert control over is the receptionist at the hotel that he's been delivered to. And so ends our analysis of the body cam footage, which shows you various aspects of the narcissistic dynamic, the repeated need for control, how that's achieved, the receipt of fuel, the various responses where a threat to control manifests, the absence of emotional empathy, the various manipulations that are doled out, including deflection, including flattery, smearing, triangulation, the appearance of the narcissism in terms of demonstrating anxious response, the 404 effect, and also the imitation game. Throughout this, Brian Laundrie's narcissism is evident. The complete absence of emotional empathy for his fiancée, the necessity of the assertion of control and drawing of fuel, the maintenance of a facade, the behaviours and manipulations that I've categorised for you. I have also, of course, reviewed other evidence in this matter, which enable me to reach the conclusion that, of course, Laundrie is a narcissist, and therefore, having established that from all of the other information and the fact that I'd watched the body cam footage 3 times prior to providing you with this analysis, I was able to reach the conclusion on his behaviours and this wealth of information to conclude that he indeed is a narcissist. And moreover, his behaviours in this demonstrate what he is, and the behaviours of Gabby Petito demonstrate that she's a victim. I have seen individuals like her many, many times, and individuals like him many, many times. Being what I am enables me to identify those of my kind very quickly, and has enabled me to do so in this instance, ably supported by considerable evidence. I will be, in further videos about this matter, addressing additional evidence which supports what Brian Laundrie is, explaining why he's done as he's done, what will have happened with regard to the commission of the death of Gabby Petito, why Laundrie has responded as the way he has, that he has disappeared, what he may well be doing, where he has gone. I understand that these are all key questions, and I will be addressing them in future videos. This was all about the analysis of the body cam footage, so that you were given a blow-by-blow account, where it was appropriate, to tell you precisely what was going on, so you understand why the people were behaving as they did in this video, particularly Laundrie, and to extend your knowledge of narcissism. I look forward to receiving your comments in the relevant section. Your super thanks, and of course please do ensure that you direct other people to this very important set of videos. It'll help those who are interested in the case understand more about it, and also will enable more people to understand about the very important topic that is narcissism. In the same way that I've used the Harry's Wife series to allow people to be reached about narcissism otherwise wouldn't do, the case involving Gabby Petito also affords that opportunity, and it is through you, my loyal viewers, that the reach can be extended, and I invite you to do so. In the meanwhile, I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.